So right now we are going to speak about Kavach. That's an identity platform that we built on Ory Stack at Factly. I'm the co-founder and CTO at Factly. Before starting Factly, I've worked on developing business processes for large enterprises like Walmart, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Fidelity, NFCU, etc. So regarding Factly itself, we started in 2015 with a mission to make public data more meaningful to the common man in India. Our work can be broadly classified into 5 categories: journalism, open data, training, research, and technology. We do a lot of work to create awareness and promote open data, and all our work, both on the technology side and on the journalism side, is very open in licensing. So we are one of the earliest fact-checking initiative from India, and currently we are one of the leading data journalism firms from India that specifically focuses on public data. To give you a context, we have published around 6,000 stories on our main portal, and out of which we have published around 4,000 fact-checking stories. And we are very actively producing videos on YouTube platform as well. So we have over 1,600 videos that we published published videos on YouTube, and in that over 1,000 videos are debunking misinformation. So we play a very major role in terms of fact-checking in India. In different languages, English, Telugu, Kannada, etc. So we are one of the signatory organizations, a part of International Fact-Checking Network, and we are one of the partners of Facebook third-party fact-checking program in India. As I said earlier, we do some trainings as well, specifically on open data and data journalism. We do a lot of work to create awareness and promote open data. And our trainings include for organizations on open data and data journalism. Last part that we do a lot of work in is research and technology in journalism, specifically data journalism and fact-checking. And that brings us to Factly Labs. Factly Labs is the research and technology arm at Factly, where we work on developing and managing applications that we use at Factly. And all the applications that we think that can be used by other organizations similar to Factly are open sourced. We also plan to provide managed hosting for all our open source applications that you see here, apart from Kavach that we are discussing today, because Kavach is not something that we think we can manage for different organizations. It's a completely different beast. But the rest of the applications that we are open source, we plan to have a managed offering for all the other applications as well. So Dega was the first open source application that we built, and it's an open source publishing platform similar to WordPress, but we have all the best practices of publishing built in. In WordPress, for example, you have to add plugins to add various features, but with Dega, we have all the best practices of publishing built in. So this was the first application that we built, and then we built more applications that we are currently using at Factly, and we also open source. That is, the first one is WidCheck, which is an open source platform for publishing video fact checks. Bindu, which is an open source data visualization platform, where you can create visualizations on the platform and can also share it on your website and etc. So we are currently working on another tool called ImageMonk, which is an open source platform for generating images automatically using the REST APIs, etc. Mundi is an e-commerce platform specifically for hosting and selling data sets. So these are the different applications that we are we are developing at Factly. We have a few other applications that are not open source, but are used internally as well. So that brings us to Kavach, on why we had to develop Kavach, and let's look at that. Yeah, so as you can see, we are a small team that is trying to build quite a lot of applications that we use at Factly, and also that can be open sourced and used across different organizations as well. So the challenge for us was to not build authentication and authorization across each and every application, but to implement it as a different application that is scalable and natively manages security for multiple cloud-based applications within Factly. And we also wanted to make sure that we are able to seamlessly extend this identity platform for our other managed hosting platforms as well. We are a small team with not real security experts, but we surely wanted to follow the industry standard best practices when it comes to security. So the main features that we were looking across as we develop different applications, the main features that we were using, which was common across, is multi-tenancy, where each application should be used by different organizations on the same instance, and each organization should be able to add users who needs to have access to this application. And we also wanted within Factly and across other organizations, if they want to extend other applications on top of Kavach. And the next feature is we wanted to implement social login within Kavach, that we did not want to put that on each of the other applications separately. Multi-factor authentication is another thing that we wanted to support, and that is currently in progress. Kratos just released the new version which supports multi-factor authentication, so we are probably going to build that into Kavach as well. So all our applications that we build that we developed here at Factly are built on Golang backend and React frontend, and they're all Dockerized and deployed on Kubernetes platform. So for us, having support for Docker and Kubernetes was very important, and we also wanted a platform that an identity platform that will support zero trust security. So coming to the solution, as I said earlier, the first application that we built was Dega. So initially we started, that was the only application at that time that we were open sourcing and was used very widely at Factly. So we started using Keycloak for our for identity, but we very quickly realized that Keycloak was a very heavy solution for our needs. It had too many features that we did not use. And for the features that we really wanted to use within Dega, it needed a lot of customizations. And for the features that we wanted to use across applications, it needed even more it needed even more customization and maintenance. So we very quickly realized that Keycloak was not a solution that was going to scale for across different applications that we are building. And also another main criteria was, since we are open sourcing all these applications, we wanted a lightweight solution, and thought like Keycloak was not a good solution to add as a dependency for some of the open source applications which were not very heavy in nature themselves. So that's where we looked at Ory Stack, and it also helped that our backend was on Golang, and Ory Stack was completely on Golang as well. So the solution that we thought we would implement was to implement zero trust security using Oathkeeper, and user organization, application management using Kavach. So Kavach uses Kratos for identity and user management under the hood, and Keto for access control policies under the hood. So this is how Kavach fits into the entire identity platform. So as most of you are probably aware of this architecture diagram, this picked up from Ory's website. I thought instead of introducing something new, I could just reuse what they had. So as I said before, we are using Keto and Kratos and Oathkeeper in our entire stack. So one thing we're not using is Hydra that we did not think was needed for our applications. So one difference that you notice from the architecture diagram that you see on Ory versus here is for after Oathkeeper takes care of identity and access proxy, all the authentication and authorization goes through Kavach, and you see that the registration, login, managing profiles, and all goes through Kavach as well, and Kavach takes care of maintaining all those requests by talking to Keto and Kratos under the hood. And the applications that we developed here, some of them, let's say, for example, ImageMonk, where just having an admin and a user roles is enough, where admin is basically where the only difference between the different roles is an admin can add more users and a user cannot. So if that is what your application needs, so you don't really have to do anything on top of Kavach. So Kavach takes care of those kind of needs. But there are some applications within Factly itself where we need more complex policies. Where, like, let's say, for example, Dega, which is a publishing platform, needs more complex authorization policies at an entity level that I'll show you in a bit. And Bindu, which is a visualization platform, needs even more complex policies where we need to manage authorization at the chart level. Like you could imagine how Google Drive provides authorization at a doc level. So for those kind of things, we have to manage those additional policies by integrating that with Keto. So that's the main differences that you see from the architecture diagram on Ory stack versus here, where the applications for in a few cases talks to Keto to manage additional policies, and otherwise all the authentication and authorization request goes through Kavach, which sits on top of Keto and Kratos. So let's look at a quick demo. So this is the login page for Kavach. So as I said, it comes with social login. So let me just use social login. Yeah. So once you log into Kavach, as I said, multi-tenancy is part of right. So multi-tenancy is part of Kavach. So if you can see here, we are supporting different organizations from the same instance of Kavach. So all these organizations can access and manage users within those organizations within Kavach, and also manage different applications that I will show how to go about it. So if you want to create a new organization, you can just create. So this how you create a new organization. You give some basic information, provide a logo, and that shows up here and stuff like that. And you can add. So I was the first user, and I was added as an owner role for this organization. And you can add multiple users at the same time. Let's say. As I mentioned earlier, so within Kavach, there are only two roles. One is an owner role and one is a member role. The only difference between owner and member is owner can add more members, and members just have access to the applications within that organization. So once you hit send invite, the users are added here. So you can directly connect your email server and set up email notifications as well. But in this case, right now we are just adding them directly. And so so after adding the users, the next part is applications. So these are the 4 applications that we have in production at Faculty currently. So as you can see, once the user logs in, they can access the applications directly from here. And otherwise, just like how you see the Google Apps, you can all the applications are available here for you to access the applications from here as well. So you can, for example, edit the application logo and what the URLs are and stuff like that. And you can add more users to the application here. So all the users that you add here for the application will have access to that particular application. And we also have something called as application tokens. For example, if your application needs access to the APIs and those APIs needs to be protected, we can generate the API tokens here for that particular application. And for example, we have API in Dega that we want it to be protected, so that can be used using the API keys that we generate in Kavach to provide that authentication without authentication as a machine, basically. So and apart from this, a user can manage their profile and change passwords and all that stuff from here. And if users, as I said, can jump into different applications from here. But let me just log out of Kavach and log into one of our applications. So I was trying to log into Dega, and since I was not logged into Kavach, it forwards me to Kavach, and this is where I log in. And once I log in, it will redirect me back to the application. So as you see, this is our publishing platform that we built on top of Kavach. So this is where obviously I don't want to go into all the details of Dega, but this is where we see how we can manage members. So the members that were added in Kavach earlier for that particular application will be shown here. All the organizations that should have access to Dega will show up here, for example, and this is where I was mentioning that, like, in a few cases within our applications where just the owner and member roles are not enough, but we wanted to have more detailed policies at the entity level. So we have we built this on top of Keto, where you can see, like, an editor role. Any user who's added to an editor role will have access to all the posts and different entities. And if the organizations want to create a new policy, they can add their policy, a new policy, giving a different name and a different access to different entities, and adding users adding users to those policies, basically. So, and here in the users, when you go to the users, you see what all the policies that these members are assigned to. And interestingly, most of us are admins, I guess. Okay, so that is how policies, that is how Kavach helps with authentication and authorization for us here at faculty, for example, in Data. And if you wanted to manage more complex policies, you could do it this way. But as I mentioned earlier, like let's say, for example, in your case, you do not need these complex policies at the entity level or at a unit level. You could just host Kavach and put your application behind it without any other customization within the application. So for the roadmap, so currently we are in the process of upgrading to the latest version of Kratos that's released because multi-factor authentication is very important for us, and we also want to stay current with all the latest releases of Ory Stack. So Keto is we are currently on the latest version of Keto, but we are going to upgrade to Kratos. As I mentioned earlier, we are using this heavily within faculty, but another organization, National Embryo Donation Center from US, is also going to use Kavach. So currently, these are the only two organizations that are using Kavach, and we are in a very early stage. So we haven't released our alpha version or anything yet. We deploy all our applications using Helm charts in our Kubernetes environment, and we deployed, and we have a Helm chart for Kavach as well. But there are definitely a few loose ends that we want to tighten up. So we are going to work on creating that Helm chart. And once we are ready for an alpha version of it, we will have a detailed documentation website available for